To the aces of the German Air Force, the self-proclaimed rulers of the European skies, it was a joke, a flying milk bottle. When the American P-47 Thunderbolt first appeared over France in the spring of 1943, German pilots could not help but chuckle at its awkward, swollen shape. This machine was huge, weighing up to 8 tons when fully armed, almost twice their agile Focke-Wulf 190 planes. They thought this airborne giant would prove slow and simple to destroy, evidence of what they viewed as rough American design. As one German ace later confessed, "We laughed. We made a terrible mistake." That laughter would soon vanish in a hail of metal as they learned the milk bottle held 850 caliber machine guns, a groundbreaking engine that ruled the upper heights, and a durability that seemed almost unearthly. They mocked it right until it began steadily clearing them from the heavens. In early 1943, the air battle over Europe formed a deadly strategy game, and the German Air Force stood as the expert players. Their fighters served as finely crafted tools, devices of accuracy and swiftness that had controlled the skies for years. Into this field of lethal experts came the American rival, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, and at first sight, it seemed like a complete failure. It was not just the foe who doubted. American pilots, many fresh from training, took one look at the P-47 and felt shocked. When the first aircraft reached fighter units in England, like the famous 4th and 78th, the response was doubt. Many of these men had flown the swift British Spitfire, a purebred of a fighter. The P-47, in contrast, felt like a heavy vehicle. Its control area was unusually roomy, which offered small relief in a plane that seemed slow and hard to handle. Pilots called it the Jug, since its outline looked like a common milk container. That name would endure, though it would later gain meaning as short for Juggernaut. The plane's creator was a talented engineer from Georgia named Alexander Kartveli. The United States Army Air Forces had assigned him to build a new Defender that could challenge the German Air Force's best. Kartveli's answer was bold. Instead of a light, close combat fighter, he shaped his whole aircraft around the strongest engine available, the massive 18-cylinder Pratt & Whitney R-2800 Double Wasp. To make it function, he added a pioneering turbo supercharger setup that needed a really large frame. When he showed the plan, Kartveli himself reportedly stated, "It will be a dinosaur, but it will be a dinosaur with good balance." And a dinosaur it proved. The P-47 weighed nearly 10,000 pounds empty. Fully armed, it reached over 17,000 pounds. For contrast, the Focke-Wulf 190, one of its chief opponents, weighed under 9,000 pounds when ready. This great weight brought quick and troubling effects. The Thunderbolt's rise speed was weak. In a standard twisting close fight, it fell far behind. It needed ages to lift off, requiring long landing strips that were not always ready at forward bases in England. The Jug's battle start on April 8, 1943 proved a mess. A fighter patrol over France got cancelled because the American radios failed. A shaming delay that made the whole group get updated with British equipment. When they at last faced the foe, the outcomes were dark. In the first 2 months, P-47s flew over 2,000 tasks, but only took 10 German planes while losing 18 of their own. German Air Force pilots grasped the method fast. Pull the bulky American giant into a low-height twisting clash, and it became a simple target. The flying milk bottle appeared just as they believed, an oversized, weak performer. Even the American pilots started to doubt, especially the experts of the 4th Fighter Group, who sorely missed their Spitfires. The Germans viewed the coming of this monster not with alarm, but with pride. They saw a plane made with raw strength in mind, missing the skilled grace they valued. They saw it as proof that Americans just felt larger, always won, a belief they felt sure would collapse. The chuckles in German Air Force gathering spots were real. They had met the best the Allies offered, and this fell short. But what they missed was that the P-47 lacked design for their type of clash. It held design for a fully fresh type of battle, and the joke, they would soon find, fell on them. So why did the Germans err so much? Because they judged the Thunderbolt by their own measures, missing the chance to look deeper and spot the innovative core of the machine. The P-47's hidden strengths lay not in its quick turns, but in its engine and the amazing setup that powered it, letting it command where it counted most: the cold, sparse air over 25,000 feet. The first hidden strength was the engine itself, the Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double wasp. This lacked mere engine status. It formed a 2,000 horsepower wonder of design that would later reach over 2,800 horsepower with water boost. For contrast, the fine engine in the Messerschmitt 109 made around 1,400 to 1,800 horsepower. The R-2800 stood, in short, as one of the war's strongest piston engines. Its round layout also proved key to the P-47's famed strength. Unlike the water-cooled straight engines of the Spitfire or Messerschmitt 109, a round engine's parts arranged in a ring. This made more pull, hence the P-47's large form. But it also meant no weak cooling setup with long, easy-to-hit pipes carrying key liquid. German pilots grew used to seeing their heavy shots tear through an engine, cut a cooling pipe, and watch the plane drop from the heavens. The R-2800, however, proved a different creature. It cooled by air, and its pure bulk meant it could take a stunning level of damage. There exist endless tales of P-47s returning to base with whole parts shot away, the engine still running strong. But a strong engine alone fell short. At high spots, the air grows thin, robbing an engine of breath. Most fighters used a gear-linked supercharger turned straight by the engine. This functioned, but it drained power, and its work fell sharply at high spots. Here entered the Thunderbolt's true secret tool, its General Electric turbo supercharger. Instead of engine drive, the turbo ran on the engine's own hot waste gas, used energy. A complex web of pipes ran from the engine down the plane's base to a spinner in the back body. This spinner used the waste to turn a compressor at over 20,000 turns per minute, gathering thin, cold air, pressing it, and forcing it back into the engine. The outcome proved nothing less than wondrous. While German fighters with their direct superchargers started to struggle over 25,000 feet, the P-47's R-2800 just reached full power. Up there, in the zone of the high-spot bombers it protected, the awkward jug turned into a champion. It moved swift, alert, and full of force its German rivals just could not equal. The German Air Force aces drew into a fresh battleground where all their edges vanished. The flying milk bottle revealed its first, scary secret. It lacked build to twist. It held build to chase in a spot where nothing else could survive. If the P-47's engine formed its core, its weapons formed its spirit. German pilots used to a balanced view of firepower, and rounds were about to meet an aircraft built on a distinctly American rule: total crushing firepower. The Thunderbolt held a stunning 850 caliber M2 Browning machine guns, 4 in each side. This lacked mere many guns. It formed a flying heavy weapon group. With all 8 firing, the P-47 could release over 100 rounds per second. Pilots described it not as shooting guns, but as sending a barrier of lead. The round supply proved just as large, holding up to 4,000 rounds. A Messerschmitt 109, by contrast, could use up its rounds in just a few quick shots. A Thunderbolt pilot could press the trigger for nearly 30 seconds of steady fire. You needed not perfect aim. You just needed the foe somewhere in your view and let the pure amount of fire handle the rest. The guns angled to meet at a set distance, often around 300 yards. Anything caught in that area, a side, a control spot, an engine, would shatter fully. The heavy, fast 50 caliber shots could break through protection and wreck engine parts. German Air Force ace Gunther Rall described facing this as factory-like end. It shifted air clashes from a skilled match into an act of factory ruin. This firepower mounted on a frame that could endure a scary level of harm. The P-47 stood, without overstatement, as one of the strongest planes ever made. The control spot formed a true shield of protection plates. The air-cooled round engine, as noted, could take hits that would have destroyed a water-cooled engine, and its pure size meant foe rounds could often pass right through without striking key parts. The tales of the P-47's strength are famed. The most known involves Major Robert S. Johnson. On June 26, 1943, Johnson's P-47 faced ambush and shredding by at least 21 heavy shots and hundreds of machine gun rounds. His cover shattered. His plane burned and he got hurt. He tried to jump out, but the harmed cover stuck, holding him inside the flaming ruin. He dived in panic, and the flames somehow stopped. He struggled toward the English Channel. A lone Focke-Wulf 190 closed for the end. Unable to respond, Johnson prepared for close. The German pilot made several runs, sending fire into the helpless Thunderbolt. At last, out of rounds, the German pilot drew up beside the wrecked P-47. He gazed across at Johnson, moved his wings in respect to a man he thought already gone, and headed home. Johnson somehow flew that ruin, which held over 200 bullet marks, back to base. This formed the Thunderbolt's second reveal. It lacked just an engine. It formed a stronghold. German Air Force pilots, used to seeing targets break apart, now faced a foe that simply refused to fall. They would send rounds into the giant American fighter, only to watch in shock as it stubbornly kept going. As German Air Force ace Heinz Baer famously stated, the P-47 could take a stunning amount of lead. The laughter vanished. In its spot grew a sense of alarm. They battled a beast. The P-47 served as a tool, waiting for the right methods. The early troubles stemmed from pilots trying to play the German Air Force's game, a fatal error. But a fresh group of wise leaders, like Hubert Zemke of the 56th Fighter Group, grasped "You send not a heavy fighter to twist lightly. You teach him to use his strength." The answer proved a method as harsh as the plane itself. Boom and zoom. The plan stayed simple. Avoid twisting close fights at all costs. Instead, P-47 pilots used their engine's amazing high spot work to rise above their foes. From this spot, at 30,000 feet or higher, they would search the skies below for German fighters. And once a target appeared, they would tip over and drop. And in a drop, the P-47 proved unbeatable. Its great weight, a flaw in rising, became its best tool. Gravity seized the 8-ton fighter and pulled it down with scary force. The Thunderbolt could hit speeds in a drop that would rip the sides off other aircraft, pushing well over 500 miles per hour. At these rates, the P-47 became a guided strike. The attack proved quick and crushing. A P-47 would fall from the sun, its target often fully unaware until the heavens burst in shots. The pilot had just a few seconds to line up a strike, press the trigger, and release destruction. Before the foe could act, the Thunderbolt would pass him, using its amazing speed to rise back to height, ready for another run. There lacked match, no smooth trade. It formed a fast end. This method shift changed the P-47's work, making it the top guard for the B-17 and B-24 bombers of the 8th Air Force. Now, German fighters had to battle through a top layer of hunting Thunderbolts just to near the bombers. By late 1943, German spy reports, which had first brushed off the P-47, now marked it as a deadly risk. The aircraft itself also grew. One of the key updates was the bubble cover. The original slim-back design had a large unseen area to the back, a deadly flaw. The new drop-shaped cover gave the pilot a clear 360-degree view. Another major change was a new wide blade spinner. Its broader parts gripped the air better, greatly boosting the P-47's liftoff, speed gain, and most key, its rise speed. The slow jug they had once mocked could now rise right with them. With these boosts, the P-47 became a truly strong fighter. It held the sight and rise speed to match its swiftness, firepower, and strength. The days of mocking the flying milk bottle stayed a far, bitter recall. Now, when the German Air Force gazed up and saw those large shapes circling high above, they felt a cold sense of fear. The heavens belonged not to them. As 1944 began, The new P-51 Mustang started to reach Europe. With its amazing distance, the Mustang suited guarding bombers all the way to Berlin and back. For a weaker aircraft, this might have meant end. But for the Thunderbolt, it marked the start of a second role, a fresh purpose, where its skills for ruin would release with even greater force. The task of the fighter bomber, or as the Germans came to name it in fear, the Jabo. The P-47's strong engine meant it could carry a stunning load, up to 2,500 pounds of bombs, a weight that matched some light bombers, plus a set of up to 10 5-inch fast rockets. This changed the high-spot hunter into a low-level bringer of end. In the build-up to D-Day, Allied sky strength aimed to weaken the German war setup, and the P-47 proved the ideal tool for the work. The impact proved disastrous. Flying at treetop level, P-47s moved across France, chasing anything that shifted. Their marks were the lifelines of the German army: rail lines, supply spots, and troop groups. A group of Thunderbolts could emerge in seconds, their .850 calibers tearing a line of trucks into a row of burning ruins. Their rockets could destroy a tank. Their bombs could ruin air bases. It was in this task that the P-47's famed strength became its most vital tool. Low-level strikes prove highly risky, flying straight into a storm of ground shots. But the Thunderbolt's sturdy frame and air-cooled engine could take it and keep going. P-47s would often return to base, full of holes, leaving smoke, yet their pilots lived. As one common phrase went, there exists not a P-47 pilot alive who would not choose to land on base rather than jump out. On D-Day and in the harsh weeks that followed, the P-47 became the German fighter's worst dream. German tank leaders who once controlled the battleground now froze. Moving in daylight invited a quick and fierce end from above. The unique roar of the R-2800 engine became a sound of coming ruin, causing a mind state among German troops known as Jabo fever. When the sound of a Thunderbolt reached, soldiers dived for safety, knowing a storm came only seconds off. The figures stun. From D-Day to Victory in Europe Day, P-47 pilots would claim the ruin of 86,000 railcars, 9,000 engines, 6,000 armored vehicles, and 68,000 trucks. They steadily broke the German supply network, starving the front. As the German leader-in-chief in the West, Gerd von Rundstedt bitterly noted, Allied sky strength led by the Jabos had made it impossible to make any real troop shifts. The joke had turned into a juggernaut. The tale of the P-47's win goes beyond tools or methods. It tells of a clash between two fully different views of war. The German way relied on a core of highly trained, hard-to-replace experts. The American way focused on factory-crushing strength. The P-47 symbolized this view perfectly. The pure count of Thunderbolts made is hard to grasp. Between 1941 and 1945, Republic Aviation produced over 15,600 P-47s. At its height, a new Thunderbolt left the work line every hour. This formed a factory wave the German war setup simply could not counter. While German plants struggled under steady bombing to make a few hundred fighters a month, America buried them under a flood of metal. This wonder reached every part of the plane. Over 125,000 of the R-2800 engines got built, not just by Pratt & Whitney, but by car leaders like Ford and Chevrolet. This ensured a boundless supply of planes and extra parts. When a P-47 got harmed, it often got fixed and flying in days. When a German fighter got lost, its replacement stayed unsure, and the loss of its pilot proved a huge blow, and the pilots themselves formed another outcome of this factory-scale way. While the German Air Force's teaching program weakened from fuel lacks and constant clashes, the United States Army Air Forces built a vast teaching line. Before ever seeing battle, an American pilot got hundreds of hours of flight teaching. In stark difference, by late in the war, a new German Air Force pilot was lucky to have 100 hours of total flight time before getting thrown into clash. The Americans built not just more planes, they built more pilots, nearly 200,000 of them. The loss of a pilot, while sad, formed a replaceable part in a vast setup. The last piece was supply. The P-47 thirsted for fuel, but America's factory strength ensured that the high-grade fuel, the rounds, and all else stayed ready in seemingly endless amounts. This formed the war the German Air Force could never claim. They fought not just the P-47, they fought the full factory power of the United States. The P-47 formed the metal-tipped tool of a juggernaut that ground the German Air Force into dust through pure, endless wearing down. If you enjoyed this close look into one of World War II's most famed aircraft, be sure to press that like button and join our channel. We have plenty more tales of amazing machines and the brave people who flew them, and you will not want to miss out. By May 1945, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt had etched its name into the past. The plane, once mocked as a flying milk bottle, an awkward joke, had turned into a legend. It closed the war with an official destroy-to-loss rate of over 4-to-1, having flown over 500,000 tasks and ruining thousands of faux aircraft and tens of thousands of vehicles. Its path from outsider to ruler told of change, of harshly using its strengths. It told of tool newness, using the force of a groundbreaking engine to claim the high spot edge. And above all,